This is the Monday, January 13th, 2025 Solid Waste and Recycling Commission meeting. And to start, there's a sign-up going around, but I'm Tim Besler, I'm the chair, and I'm going to go around and have everyone introduce themselves.
Misty Byers, Vice Chair.
Lisa Gannett, lead House Operator.
John Cattell, Deputy or Assistant Director. Mike Fasowitz, Commission Member.
Elisa Tahey, Commission Member.
Megan McHale, Commission Member.
Becky Bunnell, Member of the Public, Sustainable Fairfield.
Ron Blumenfeld, Commission Member.
Andy Beal, Commission Member.
And I want to start by welcoming Megan and Andy as new commission members. Thanks for being here. Our first order of business is, I'm calling the meeting to order, and our first order of business is approval of the November 18th meeting minutes. I sent the meeting minutes around to each of you. If they're online, is there any discussion about any changes or corrections to the minutes from November? If they're not, then I entertain a motion to approve them.
Don't we start the meeting with the pledge?
Well, if you want to do that, that's fine. I know I checked a lot of the other commissions and committees don't do the pledge, and it's up to you.
Okay.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I'll entertain a motion for approval of the November meeting minutes.
So moved.
Okay, so that is Ron moved and second. Do I have a second? Okay, Megan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The November meeting minutes are approved. The next order of business is the election of the officers. I'm the current chair of the committee. Misty's the current vice chair, and Ron is the current secretary. Let's start with Eddie. Is anyone else? Are there any other nominations? Are there any nominations for? Let's start with chair. Are there any nominations for chair?
I think you should be chair. I mean, I would like to nominate you as chair.
I'm confused, sorry. Is your term limit up, or?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
We have to go through this every year. And if there's
sorry.
someone else that obviously, if there's we'll do a motion and a second, and then I'll ask, are there any other nominations?
Oh, okay, got it.
So Misty,
Nominate you.
okay, and is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Andy, are there any other nominations for chair?
Do you want to be?
And I think you say it 3 times, at least that's what we do at DTC. Is there any other nominations for chair? Are there any other nominations for chair? Okay.
That was 5.
All in favor?
Don't do that again.
Oh, yeah, okay. I will do that again. All in favor of having Tim Besler as chair of the commission? Aye? Okay. For vice chair, do I have any nominations for vice chair? I nominate Misty.
Anybody else want to do it?
Oh, yeah.
I would do it if I don't have to be secretary.
There's your chance, Misty.
I just got assigned to be a secretary for a huge nonprofit that.
Okay.
Well,
there are other people sitting around the table here.
And let me just.
Secretary.
You'll be secretary?
Sure.
Okay.
What else do I have to do? You already put so
No.
much on your plate. What else do I have to do?
As I mentioned before, you're the official person to do the minutes, but the fact that we'll be taking notes. I put them together each month. What I will do each month is I'll put together the notes or the draft minutes, send them to you. We'll talk about it. I'll get input from other people. You really don't have to do very much.
You have to post it.
It's not a recording secretary job.
I'm sure I can
48 hours.
crack that code. So is the
Okay.
agenda also the secretary, or just a minute?
The agenda is, I generally put the agenda together when I get input from other people. For instance,
Okay.
Misty had suggested something to put a new business, and I
Right.
put it in here. I send the agenda around, and frankly, it's a draft agenda until it's posted. It's not, and I've changed the agenda. I mean, we can revise the agenda, but I generally
Okay,
take
so
care
the
of
chair does the agenda, the minutes is the secretary, got it.
That's right. Well, okay,
How long, do you just send it out like a week before the meeting? What's your take on the agenda? I mean, I don't
Oh,
think you have to.
I usually, what I try to do is a week, within the week before the meeting, I look at what we did last time, what we said we're gonna do, and I'll put together, what I did here, based on what my understanding is what we're gonna look at the next meeting. Of course, anything, under new business, that's what new business is, anything that we haven't talked about, by the time we get there, that becomes new business.
Got it.
And then when we go, whatever happens with that, then becomes old business for the next meeting, so.
Gotcha.
There's really nothing, and as a matter of fact, I have public comments on here because, anyone that is calling in or sitting in that wants to comment will get the chance to do so. It's an open public meeting, so.
Gotcha.
Well, in that case, do I have a nomination for, do I have a nomination for, why don't you
I
nominate
nominate Ron.
Ron for vice chair?
Okay.
And do I have a second?
Oh.
Okay, yeah, good.
So everybody shout out at once.
So all in favor of Ron being the vice chair?
Aye.
Okay, that's it. And let me just see here, let me
Climbing the political ladder.
I'm learning a lot about Robert's rules, as I said.
And so, in that case, Megan, if you're interested in being secretary, I'd like to nominate you as secretary. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ellie? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have our officers, and I will report this to Jen Carpenter. That'll be part of the minutes.
And I'll take the notes today.
What's that?
I'll take notes now.
You can take notes now. I'm gonna, anything that I see, I'll probably take notes of, but yes, please do. And again, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. The next, so going on to old business, we'll have the director's report with John Cattell, and John sent around the shipping,
The tonnage report.
which we've all.
I have a couple extra copies if someone didn't have one. So.
I did two.
Becky could use one.
Well, if Eddie needs, I use Commissioner.
Andy gets priority.
Okay.
Oh,
I'll just remember.
I'm trying,
Put on my phone.
I have one copy here, but I pretty much keep it in my computer, so.
Here's the list.
Oh, thank you.
So if you're looking at this report, which is nice that this is a full 6 months that you have numbers in there for, and you can kind of compare it to FY '24 totals, and if you're doing that, you can see we're right about, on par with FY '24 totals for just about everything. And then if you want to go into your food waste drop-offs, I put numbers in there as to get an idea of what it's costing you, how many people actually show up, and what the average amount that they're bringing. So if you have any questions with that, I'll be glad to answer that.
I'm sorry, where, and the food waste, where are?
So
the number
food
of
waste is
people?
on, the top four that are colored,
Yeah,
okay, that's MSW,
yeah.
single stream.
No, I see food waste, but
And then
how,
you got food waste drop-offs, those are the number of people since July 1st, 1,794, who have actually gone in and had to just drop off food waste. And then what we do is I take, okay, what does that cost us? $3,200, so it breaks out to almost $300 per ton, for us to do this, food waste. And that's, if you compare that to just regular MSW, our regular MSW is about $103. So you're almost pushing 3 times the cost of getting regular garbage.
I have a question,
This is not an economic, the key point on this is not an economical issue.
Well, the saving grace is that it's not a big number as compared to the total.
This is a kind of, okay, feel-good thing, but it is not an economical issue. When I talk to directors from other towns, that's the first thing they'll say too, who've done it larger. I talked to the West Hartford director, he's the first one to tell you, it is not an economical issue, it's just a different version of how to get rid of something.
It's a changing of waste.
That's
You
all
think
it is.
about waste.
Is it correct that the cost per ton would go down because we have a certain number of pickups that are pre-scheduled, right? And the cost is based on the frequency of the pickups or the actual weight?
The
Frequency of the pickups.
So if more people were bringing their food waste, the cost per ton would go down.
Provided we don't
Unless you
use a
just
lot
need
more
to get,
containers.
yeah.
Because we have to, if we increase the containers, then that price goes up as
Right,
well.
right.
Or if
But
we
the
increase
cost,
the
the bulk of
frequency.
the cost is really.
And we're still waiting to hear for what their new pricing is gonna be. They're gonna get that to me by the end of the month.
Okay.
Yeah, the price now we're paying is a two-year since we
I'm
started.
sorry, and what's it called now?
Upcycle.
Upcycle.
Natural upcycling.
Natural upcycle.
These are the people that bought, curbside compost?
Curbside.
Is this a real company or is it, are
It's
the
a legit
financial
company.
people? Okay, it's not one of those investor things.
Yeah,
Well, we don't know.
Maybe.
Could be, and they're still taking it to the end.
They're multi-state, so.
They take it either to up to
Yeah.
Milford or up to, Southern to Quantum.
John, I know this is kind of a repetitive question, but when they're charging per pick, not a weight?
Correct.
So if you have more in there, it doesn't necessarily go up.
Right, unless we have to turn around and have more containers.
And what is the break point for, like, is there an amount of food that you could get in that would maximize our capacity?
When we have a max capacity week, when all the barrels are full, it comes in, depending on the density, around a half a ton a week.
Okay. And if you're
That's
picking,
10 barrels,
but you're paying for a full ton effectively?
we're paying for a full pickup.
We're paying for the pickups.
Okay.
So the way the pickups go is I think we have, right now we're on weekly pickup. And then when you get into your summer months, what is it, two or three, then we do bi-weekly and there's an increased cost for that.
So is it fair to say that this is why this is a little bit higher, because June and July were 2 times a week pickups, that's why you've got a higher price than you had in 2024?
Well, that's actually July and August. and
July and August, yeah.
The other 4 months that are down.
And more people are out and about in July and August
Yeah.
than in, the
Right.
colder months.
Yeah, so they're gonna be higher,
The volume of people coming
if
in.
they're twice a week, and it's more food.
And what if you move to the bigger bins?
Then we'd have to find out what the cost is.
Okay.
I mean, it's, if I want the big clean, then that's another $465 every 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to pay it.
One question, who cleans the bins now? Nobody. Okay.
And then this $17.94, sorry, is this, I see it's the number of people, but are these unique users? So, or,
That's the amount of people who come in and say, I'm just dropping off the food waste.
It's
that
also
could be
the amount of
the same
people
for
that come in and say, I'm dropping off trash in front of it. We track the food.
okay, so like, someone like me that comes in once a week, I've counted 4 times in 1 month, right?
Yes.
Got it, okay.
So if you actually broke that out,
Mhm,
you really, if, and you go in once a week,
mhm.
I don't know, how often do you go in, once a week?
Once every
I
2
don't-
weeks.
Once every 2
Yeah.
So if you take those numbers and break it down into the 26 weeks, whatever, if it's weekly, you're talking only 75 people are doing this. If you want to double it,
Mhm,
that everyone comes in bi-weekly,
mhm.
you're still only looking at 150 people.
I have the little old lady who comes in twice a week with a little bag. But it's also for social help.
Yeah.
Just bring 2 batteries and a little bag.
So,
Yeah,
you might say maybe 100 people at most.
Mhm.
Yeah, I come down about once a week and I also bring the glass bottles as well,
Right,
so, yeah.
right.
Okay.
And then and you understand, this is only at the transfer station, this doesn't count, I think some of the tonnage that you had in your report are all the elementary schools and, is it middle schools now too?
Just,
The total tonnage that I had put on for, I think, I don't know, if it's a fiscal year or calendar year, but the 2024 deep report, annual deep report, I did. Curbside picked up a total of 243 tons, I think it was, in the town. That's the number I was looking for.
Okay.
Does that include the schools as well as
That includes
residential?
the schools, the residents, that includes their private accounts that they
Oh,
have.
okay, Trader
yeah.
Joe's,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, so that includes everybody that they pick up in the
That
town.
was for fiscal '24?
It's
I
a
think it was
calendar.
calendar, yeah.
Calendar 24.
Calendar 20.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
that's,
appropriate.
oh, I forgot.
The pickups at the school, what budget does that come out of, the patron? Motivator?
Probably Board of Ed or parents group or.
you wanna talk-
So, sure, we did we wrote a grant, a sustainable CT matching grant, where we raised $25,000 from, individual donors who gave varying amounts, and it was matched 1.5 times by Sustainable CT, so that we ended up with about $62,000, and that's what we've been using to pay for it. It is written into the budget for next year for Fairfield Public Schools, but,
Motivator, will pick it up when the money
Yes.
runs out. Okay.
well, that's the plan,
Okay,
yeah.
It's not mine.
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, so
It
it's
just,
what,
it doesn't even matter.
whatever's not covered in grants is covered by the Board of Ed.
Mine is,
So, right now, it's the PTA council,
Okay,
it's the PTA council's money. And then, next year, once the grant runs out, the Board of Ed has committed to picking it up.
oh, okay,
Or it's
all right.
It's in the, they're in the budget,
They're in the-
they're in the
It's
budget
budgeted.
approval process right
Okay,
now, so.
okay, well, that,
Yes, anything else, exactly.
Can I just ask a quick question? So that's the 11 that is at the transfer station? That's 11 tons per year?
yeah, well, it's
Right.
22, about 22 a year.
that's for
Yeah.
6 months.
It's for
Yeah,
6
so
months.
it's 22 a year, but you guys have collected privately 10 times that amount.
Well, other business.
Yeah, the schools,
Yeah.
residents, and businesses that curbside picks up. They report
Okay,
their
not
curbside.
resi is what the distinction is residential.
There's some residents that are included in their number.
Oh, right.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah.
Like
Right,
pickups,
right,
yeah,
that's right.
I have that too.
And of course, Trader Joe's and restaurants, they're gonna pay for that too. That's out of their budget.
Are there any other questions for this? So bottom line is, we're pretty much tracking pretty close to what we did in FY '24.
Yeah.
Other than that, operations are going fine down there.
No new construction news?
We have a construction department that I'm gonna be putting in charge of putting the shed roof over the recycling.
Right.
So they're gonna take care of that.
The whole recycling, all those drains,
Just where that blue wall is,
yeah?
that's gonna have, where the blue wall is, that says recycling, it's gonna have a 3-sided shed roof.
Right.
So that, when you go,
We have a grant approved, $122,000 for the grant.
I know
Now, these are numbers that were thrown out 2 or 3 years ago, prices may go up. It has to go out to bid, and we'll find out what the bid numbers come in from it. And if I need to use NIP money, then to make up the difference, that's where that's coming in.
So it's gonna be the bid over, the trailer that's sitting there that is just using for overflow right now.
Correct.
And then you're gonna change that, you're gonna make it, mixed recycling.
Yes.
Single stream recycling.
single thing.
So you might not need to use the NIPS money. Well, we aren't calling it NIPS anymore, right?
Well,
Alcohol mix.
There's
Alcohol.
other products,
Mini.
there's other.
Mini
items-
bottles.
There's other items for the
Yeah.
NIP money.
Okay.
There's other things that are being worked on, but.
this is the area that, when I drive in past the glass only, it's the wall that's straight ahead there.
Right.
Okay, and that'll be all single stream and, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
We may still keep the cardboard separate, just to see what our options are with that, if cardboard prices become valuable enough to truck it individually.
And when
Is cardboard still, you still getting good money for cardboard? No?
You're making money, but it's not like everything used to be.
Yeah.
But, all they have is that little thing that rolls over it, right, that keeps it dry? And that's really adequate? It doesn't leak on the side and get all wet?
When it's covered, it's fine.
Okay.
We have some work to do on, the south compactor, which is the one that's used for trash, which will put us into, probably put that down for a bit. When that work is done, they gotta pull the whole plunger out, that compact thing, but that still has to get lined up and all.
Is it working?
Yeah, their operations are working fine, it's just that this is something that, this thing's been running for 4 years, and that gets probably, well, I don't know, 6 times the use that recycling gets.
Yeah. And do they do maintenance on that? So they come and
They do the oil, they do the grease fittings,
Okay.
you know, that's things, you know, small relays or something, usually replace that gets done. A couple motors was changed out, it's no problems with that. So yeah, there's things that get done. That's all. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay. The next item is discussion of food waste, recycle, contamination, and public education. I think the best place to start is, I sent each of you the Sustainable Fairfields report from Becky Bunnell on the proposal to put 3 65-gallon containers to serve people in northern Fairfield at the Lake Mohegan parking area. And I've read through this report, so I have a couple of questions, as some of you may, but Becky, if you'd like to add to this or say anything to start with, you're welcome to do that.
Sure. So we have been getting lots of comments and requests from residents that they, particularly if they live in North Fairfield, are choosing not to recycle their food waste because it's too long of a drive. And I think that's causing people to not be able to do something that they actually would like to do. They'd like to be more sustainable with their food waste, but they're just not going to go 25 minutes down and 25 minutes back. So I think, you know, being able to put something in a more convenient northern location would allow them to compost and recycle their food waste. This is something that most of the towns in the area have secondary locations. Greenwich uses churches, for example, as a drop-off. Other towns will have just a site where they will have a volunteer come and staff it for a 2-hour period and take food waste. So I think other towns have found other ways. What we're now seeing is these 2 companies that we looked into, Big Belly and Metro Store, are actually being purchased now by towns. So Stamford is buying, for example, 52 Big Bellies and putting them all around northern Stamford because they have the same issue. Stamford's a really big town. Their transfer station is below 95. It's too far for people to go. And so he's now putting 52 all around northern Stamford. We've got them being used in Middletown and West Hartford. Lots of other places are doing it. The HRRA group, which is 14 towns that include like Wilton and Danbury and Bethel and a bunch of other towns, they're buying a bunch, but they're actually going to be buying the Metro Store ones. So these are 2 slightly different versions of a container. These are self-contained containers. You open it with a phone app. So you come up and we can tell who's using it. Well, it depends which one we use. The one we're recommending is the Metro Store one because it's cheaper, and the phone app is more user-friendly, and it allows us to see if there's any kind of contamination or misuse, because you can see who put bad stuff in, because you can tell what time of day they put it in. So if you see something is in plastic bags, you can send out a reminder to that person saying, hey, by the way, this has to be in bio.
So you're matching the time of day to their phone app?
Yeah.
Good.
Is it taking a picture of what they're putting in?
No, it just codes it by when they open it. So their phone number will be, you'll receive a computerized view of who dropped off, when, which person.
It's commingled with everybody else's.
It's commingled with everyone else.
So how do I know you're the one who's not doing it versus?
You'd probably have to, so when, let's say that Natural Upcycling is chosen to pick them up, and they notice that there's plastic bags in there, and it was on the top of bin 1, because you have bin 1, 2, and 3, so you track them separately. You'd be able to go in, and maybe you wouldn't be able to get the exact person, because if it had been 2 days before, there could be more stuff on top, but you could then send it out to the 10 people who put it in over the last several days, and just, you wouldn't do it in a mean way. You'd just say, oh, reminder, you're not supposed to put these in plastic bags. So you can say it in a way that helps gently encourage people to use.
Well, it took me a month to find the person who was dropping off the compostable baby diapers. And I've got people dropping off shredded paper, I'm still trying to figure out who that is.
So but what we can do though is we know exactly who's put it in that bin.
Right.
So we can send it
So
out
this
to
would
the
be
whole group.
subscription-based and they would pay for it?
They don't pay.
Well,
We
MSW trash is not figured in the tax base. So you wanted to expand it, that people pay for garbage in Fairfield.
Well, we don't pay
This
the
will be an
transfer station.
extension of the MSW.
in my mind, this is
So
an
who's gonna
extension.
pay for it? Because you're talking about towns where the garbage comes from the tax base.
Okay, I'm
It would be,
I'm assuming that we don't have them pay for the transfer station, so we wouldn't have them pay for it up there.
Well, I mean, that's
how this
it is a very small, little amount compared to once it starts getting bigger and bigger, who's gonna pay for it? Is it gonna come from the tax base? Are we gonna raise the taxes for the people using it, like, Middletown does, for people who use certain services with the garbage? They pay an extra tax?
We can choose to do that, then you have to reduce their MSW, because these people are only gonna be bringing one bag of MSW. So if you wanna do a pay-as-you-throw program, I would love that,
Well,
because
then-
then you could pay correctly
Well,
for the
who's
amount
gonna,
of.
okay, then who's gonna manage the pay-as-you-throw?
We can have it
I mean,
done.
'cause that's the argument too I get from people. They don't come to the transfer station because they live on that side of town because it's too far.
Right.
So who's gonna pick up their garbage?
They can choose to bring it to the transfer station if they only have one
Well, if they're
bag.
gonna bring their garbage to the transfer station, why can't they bring the food waste to
So,
the transfer
but
station?
well,
I think going back to your point, when you
Well, pay-as-you-throw
have.
is different, you
when
know pay-as-you-throw.
I know what pay-as-you-throw is.
this would have to be,
So it's done through your hauler in
So,
our town.
going back to your point about when you compost and recycle, your trash really decreases significantly. It may not even be worth it to pay for a hauler.
Yeah.
I'm speaking from experience.
Right.
So it may actually encourage people to make that trip once a month because their garbage is so little to the transfer station. It may actually divert.
Right, and then they'll just pay for what they're throwing out, which is what they do now.
Yeah.
Or they
Right.
could work with one of the haulers that,
Several of the
for
haulers,
less-
several of the
less
haulers allow you to do an every other week pickup.
Which ones?
I know Mountlock does, I think there are several other ones that do. And they price it accordingly. So if you don't need it to be picked up every week, that's another form of pay-as-you-throw. So now you can have someone cut their trash bill and have it be picked up every other week because they don't have the trash to be picked up. Why would they pay for every week pickup?
Right.
well,
Yeah.
I think it would have to be very clear that these 3 containers are for food waste only.
Oh, yeah.
And only in either raw food waste or in the compostable containers. Now, I'll say that the feedback I've gotten already when you first sent this around from the Parks and Rec will have to get involved with this because that's their facility. One question that Becky and I talked about, are there in fact cameras up there at the lake right now? I don't know. And would it make sense to put some kind of a camera again to?
We could put one in.
Could put one. Now, again, that gets into, okay, what does that cost? Who's gonna check?
Who's monitoring it?
Well, no one's gonna monitor it. If there's a contamination, then you can look and see who did it. But yeah, it's not gonna be a full-time monitored camera. That's a detail that, and I should back up a second here. What we're doing here, I think, is we're gonna discuss your proposal. I believe what I would like to see is when we're done with the discussion, to have a vote on whether or not the town, the department goes further with it. We can't sit here and say, yes, we're going to do this. We're not, as a commission, we can't do that because there's so many other people involved. But I think to get a sense of, does this make sense for people who, I personally, I live in a condominium. I can put my garbage and I recycle. I'm already paying for it by big little. I choose to go down and do that just because I want to do that. But I do it once a week and I combine it to other trips. It's a 7-mile drive versus, Mohegan. I can almost walk to Mohegan Lake from where I live. So,
But again,
And a lot of people feel
where
like
is that money gonna come to fund it?
that is one. I mean,
Yeah, because
Well, so I was
again,
proposing
MSW is
alcohol,
not
the
figured from the
alcohol
tax.
Don't
Right.
plan on that.
Why? It's supposed to be used for recycling, if that's how the commission
There are
and the
other-
department choose to
There are
spend
other
it.
plans for that money.
Well,
But it's
let's
about
have other,
survey.
let's have,
Well-
were they decided by the commission? The other
I don't
plans?
have to.
Who decided?
Well, I think when we're talking about, you know, I'm glad that we're talking about this in January, because in fact, yes, the town is going to have to spend some money to do this. I don't think there's any way around that, with grant or no grant. The town's gonna have to spend some money, so that means that it has to be either as a line item in a budget, or it's gotta be covered by someone's budget, and that would be the second, if we approve it tonight, if we vote to look into this, the town officials, your department, elected officials are gonna have to agree to this, but it's January, so it could actually be part of this year's budget.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing you sent, which we'll get to later, there's no way that's gonna be, well, I don't think there's any way
That's a
that's
much
part,
bigger-
that's a much bigger deal, that's not gonna, that's next year's
I think we should start to
budget.
think about it,
But
because we might wanna.
This one, from what you put together, we're talking about maybe 15 grand,
Well, I think it was only $6,000 of food waste hauling.
well, yeah, but it's
Not
an
even
amount of
5,000.
money that's certainly not going, it's a very small amount of, it's something that could be done if we think it makes any sense.
Yeah, and I'm proposing it as a one-year trial anyway, just to see, do we get, what
Right.
kind of volume do we get, what kind of participation? I mean, I think it needs to be for a full year,
Well,
because
let
we're
me
gonna have to
ask you this.
educate people that it exists.
How successful do you think the current operation is at the transfer station?
I was surprised when you said that you think only 75 people are using it, which seems low to me, but, because I know we've passed out 350 kits. So that means that
And
a lot of the
compliments of trash and recycling.
people are not choosing to do this. That seems very low. And what I'm sort of wondering is, do you think there's any people who might not be telling you they've got food waste when they come in, and they just put their food waste in and forget to, I mean,
It is possible.
you told me that I'm supposed to tell you every time.
Right.
I think a lot of people probably don't know,
Yeah.
to say, oh, I'm bringing my glass and my recycling, and oh, by the way, I have food
Yeah,
waste
and,
too.
you know, and you, as you give it out, you were supposed to tell people too.
Well, we're supposed to tell people to go to the scale house,
And to, and tell us what they have.
right, but I think they may not be doing that, is my thought.
But the weight is the weight, right? I mean, that's gonna tell you how many people, more or less.
Well, yeah, and we're running the same averages. I mean, usually,
So you're,
a full month, regular month is like 800 pounds, 6 to 800 pounds. You know, the heavier months when we're, like, if it's Christmas and New Year's, Thanksgiving, we were running $1,000 pounds a month.
When you're talking food waste, you're talking compostable food waste or
these are
all
pounds
food
or
waste?
tons?
Well,
Off the list.
food waste, which includes chicken bones and banana peels, and,
Okay.
you know.
Any
Pork
food oil.
shoulder,
that would
3
be,
dozen rolls,
Yeah, 'cause I was reading,
7 bags of apples.
I got it. No, I was reading today that compostable stuff,
Oh, yeah.
realistically, there's no dairy, there's no baked goods,
That's
there's no.
backyard, yeah,
What?
so this backyard
Backyard.
composting that
That-
is what.
Oh, that's
This
his
is not
backyard,
commercial.
these
Yeah,
guys
this
are
is
saying,
industrial.
oh, okay, it's industrial, so it's all.
Yeah, it's reduced,
Well-
reduced municipal waste.
The end product is either, well, right now, correct me if I'm wrong, the end product of food waste processing, is either compost, or soil amendment like Stamford has with the aerobic digestion, or in fact, what goes on up is Southington, that it's converted into energy. It's like a.
Oh, yeah, anaerobic
It's
digestion.
anaerobic digestion, which creates energy, yeah. Which is that's not something that happens on a small scale, anaerobic digestion, obviously. But it's all organic material, and that's why the compostable bags have organic base, plant-based, and it's a beneficial use. Obviously, at this point in time, knowing that food waste is roughly half of the weight of MSW, we have a very low usage. And I think what the trend is, from everything that I read, and I think the trend is that this will be increasing somewhat. How much people are really going to want to do this is well, I think it's up to the availability of taking your food waste and how much people really want to do it.
Right, and I think.
And this is the first step, really.
And I think everything I've read and what Deep is telling us is that, MSW costs are gonna be going up significantly.
Of course.
Wheelabrator, I don't know if you've read in my other thing, average burn plant life is 30 years. Wheelabrator was commissioned in 1988. It's already 7 years over the 30 years. It is well past its life cycle.
It is also maintained.
It's maintained,
Yeah.
I know.
They cut out tubes, replace tubes, they shut down a boiler every quarter and do work on it, so that's why the thing is running this far.
Well, right now, we're fine. Mira shut down, the one that Greenwich uses, which is not, they don't use Wheelabrator, but that's gonna be shutting down in 5 years.
It's not called Wheelabrator, or it's Wind.
No, it's
Windway.
Windway, yeah.
Windway Sewer is the owner of Wheelbarrow Technology.
Yeah. And when you think about having to truck food waste out of state, which is what half of the state is doing right now, those costs are expected to go up to $295 per ton, which is what we're paying for food waste right now. So,
The food waste right now is going 2,586 miles a year, as opposed to the state amount going 5 miles.
yeah, well, I would
Roughly.
personally have a suggestion for what to do with our food waste that doesn't have to go
What,
to Milford Farms or
Right,
or
but that, yeah,
biopower.
but that's an RFP, that's a $250,000 a year contract for a private contractor,
What?
what you're suggesting.
Well, I'm actually suggesting that we do it in our town.
Yeah, it's an RFP, and you've got to find a company to manage it.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I believe We Care Denali is willing to do.
We Care Denali
Who
was,
have you talked
What
to?
is, I mean,
Well, no.
Chris Fields. who-
Chris Fields is not
I
doing
know,
it.
I understand. He left 2 years
yeah,
ago.
you're
He
talking
retired.
2018,
He retired.
2019.
He
There's
retired.
been 2 changes of.
Okay,
of
so but
administration.
he seemed, at the time, they were open to it. They do it at their Ellington site. I
They're
have not talked to them
sending,
since.
they're sending, landscapers away this fall because they didn't have any room for their leaves.
They don't have room there.
What do we haven't given the room? We
can't make the site any
Do
bigger
you want to
than-
take over the bus station?
Yeah.
And tell the buses to go elsewhere?
Yes, I do. I want the
Well-
buses, when they're electric buses, to be sited at the schools, so that they're not driving 4 times a day and polluting in our streets.
Well, when you get that done, and they're out of there.
But there
these are all innovative suggestions, I think we
Yeah.
should explore them, because we can't.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean,
Well,
it's
no,
a brilliant idea.
We can't sit around and do nothing because it's hard and expensive.
Right.
I mean,
But-
the schools, what did we do? We sat down and we came up with a plan and we made it happen.
And it
So-
could be that
and
it's 4 years
It is-
away,
it is
and
hard, but you do
Right,
it.
I
and
mean-
we remediate the
Yes.
site, the
When
Phillips
Paul
Pile site,
Salou
and
came
that's
to the town
plenty of room.
and, set up the yard waste facility, I mean, that was a 3-year project,
Yeah.
and that was because the town had a problem with biosolids, and.
So this
getting-
is, I'm
getting
not saying
rid of
that has to be done overnight, but I
It's
think we need
a
a
brilliant
plan.
idea, it's absolutely brilliant. And as a business model, I could see it. I mean, it's, it's a $250,000 a year business, okay? And it could be really, it could be well, but it has to be run right. We can't do it, if you're gonna do it, you gotta go all in.
I'm all for going all in with food waste.
Well,
I don't
And
know, though.
honestly, and I honestly think if the Board of Education is spending how much, $60,000 a year on composting? This could also be an opportunity for us to save money for the districts if we have.
Has it reduced the MSW at the school?
Yes.
It has.
That's what we're working on now is,
And has it reduced the contract with All American?
Can I go back to the quick, do we know that the school's gonna pay for this?
We have it in the
within the
budget.
budget.
And so it's been approved?
No, it hasn't,
Okay.
it has to go,
So we have to-
as you well know. it
Can
has
we
to
wait
go
until they
committee.
approve? Because I'm in agreement with, I think it's a great program. I work in a school, we've been doing it for years, but it's a private school. It's a private school, we have the money.
Yeah.
We have the money, which the town does not. So we could do that, we could take a loss, why I think it's great, why I agree, is if you, education-wise, which is what we talk about, if we could get it at that level, it'll eventually grow. But let's wait, and even, like I said, the NIPS money, or whatever money you're suggesting for this, should we hold on to it to make sure that it's gonna be approved by the Board of Ed? If not, you could take this money here and give it to the Board of Ed to continue. Because the more often that kids do this, the better it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
A couple of people up in the, near the north or whatever, can make it easier for them, it's not
Sorry,
gonna
Tim.
make a difference. Brunswick.
I have a couple,
For years.
I have a couple of questions, just details.
Before the school.
For these, again, details about how this would actually be, who changed, these, you mentioned on these bins, these Metro Store bins, they all they need is some AA batteries, because
Yeah.
all they're doing is sensing the.
Every 6 months, you need to go
Well, but
in.
who is responsible for changing the batteries? Would the curbside compost or whoever they are?
We could request it as part of
Well,
their
that-
contract, or we could
Request what?
request it as part of their contract.
Exactly, I mean, that's
Those are all
important.
details that we can absolutely.
And then periodic cleaning. My understanding is, do they actually take the 65,
They
they take it out and replace it, or do they dump it and clean it, or?
My understanding is that I haven't seen their trucks recently, they've upgraded their equipment.
Yeah.
I think they now have cart toters, lifters
Okay,
now.
all right.
So they could actually now dump it. They used to I think they used to bring clean ones and.
Right,
roll
which
them.
is why now if I want to clean bins, it's an extra $450.
Oh, so
Every
that,
time I want to switch bins out.
So now what they would do, right now, the way they're set up is they would dump it and then they would put it back.
because one of
We
them,
could do a liner if we want. They can put a liner in. That's something that they do for us now. Well, actually, they don't.
No, they don't, the liners didn't last anyway. I mean, but they'd be broken down by, with all this stuff in it,
Yeah,
and it was
You're
just
talking about like a plastic liner or what?
a biodegradable.
biobag.
Yeah.
A biobag liner. You can get.
Really?
You can
Yes,
get.
they're
I mean,
so
yeah,
great.
and it's just, and that's just a waste of money and energy and resources, I don't like the biobags, by the way.
well, because, obviously, I think what we'll hear from Parks and Rec, or whoever gets involved with this is, they want to make sure that this is a place where kids go and swim. You don't want a situation where things get out of hand and there's smelly garbage and stuff
No,
like
there's
that.
no smell on these.
Because that would have to be part of the deal, that they'd have to maintain this and change those batteries maybe every 4 months, need it or not. You don't want the things going bad.
And how would we monitor the facility use fee? I mean, I know it's your beach sticker, but that's part of the requirements in Fairfield. So how would we be sure that every person who signs up for it has a beach sticker or a?
Because you'd have to
Well,
type that in, you'd have to type in your
That would have to be part of
license
it.
plate. and
We would not give them the app unless they have a
Right.
sticker.
Okay. I mean,
But the nice thing about this project is it's scalable, and it's not like we're like expanding ourselves too much, but it also gives us the opportunity to have the time to talk to, We Care Denali. I mean, I think they should be really part of this whole conversation as soon as possible about long-term.
Well, there's two separate projects.
Yeah, they're-
I'd keep
I
it-
know, but it gives us time to, at least,
Yes.
And the one good thing about having this separate is that this is something that is, it's an incremental change. It's something that makes to me, makes some sense, and it doesn't cost that much money. When we get talking about, if Fairfield decides to have a food processing facility in town, it certainly, obviously, you change the contract with, if it's going to go where We Care Denali is, you have to change but that's something that's gonna take a while, and that's in the future somewhere.
And we
But-
have to figure out who's paying for the cost of it.
Right.
Right
Now,
now.
are we, is the municipality gonna pay for it? Are we gonna raise the taxes to get that extra money? Or are we gonna have to pay, like I did now when curbside picks up the house, you pay for the program yourself?
Yeah. So presumably.
On that note, if you get the app so you can drop there, it's gonna know when you drop there. Do you just simply say when the guy drops there, it's $10 for the drop?
Well, I think we should be charging foodways at the transfer station, because of the cost.
Let me ask you a question.
A lot of municipalities do charge to drop off.
It is classified as MSW.
Oh, yes.
I have a question.
It should be.
We
Should
charge
be.
right
I think
We
now.
try to say, at the best possibility, we would say, okay, we got a pilot program, and at its best, where we're not even trying to charge people, we're incentivizing them to try it, how is it gonna work, how's it working? Personally, I don't see it. For 75 people that we're spending that amount of money, I don't see it.
For even 100 people out of the town,
Yeah.
how big?
So we, right now, the
I
municipality
don't
and
think it's
taxpayers
crazy.
pay $150,000 to have their leaves picked up. Why, they don't pick them up from my house. That's taxpayer dollars.
We won't pick up leaves, we'll leave the leaves on the side of the road.
I'd be happy to, it would actually be better for the environment.
All my
Mow it in.
landscape
Mow it in.
customers leave the leaves.
Believe me, it would actually be better to leave them, I would love that.
No, all my landscape
But all I'm
customers
saying
leave the
is,
leaves.
when you're
so.
saying, who's gonna pay for this food waste, who's gonna pay for the leaves? Well, the town
Well, the leaves
taxpayers
are figured into the tax base.
Right.
And
so-
they have been
so-
from the beginning of time.
And so can these be. If
Right,
we
so that would
decide-
we allow, the tax will have to be raised.
Can I ask you a question? What part, that I should probably know the answer to this, and I'm sorry that I don't, but what percentage of residents use only the transfer station and don't have any kind of hauling at home?
I don't think we have that.
Well, I mean,
I don't know who's using the contract, each contract is.
Well, I guess maybe a better way to phrase that question is, I'm trying to think about this number that you've given us of 1,794 as a percentage of the people who use the transfer station versus as a percentage of the town overall, because the vast majority of
Okay,
people.
so you're asking people using the transfer station,
Yeah,
we got about 50,000 people.
50,000.
Yeah.
And of that only,
well, everybody in town
Well-
uses the transfer station, whether they
Right.
come to the transfer
Right.
station or they're
I'm
garbage.
talking about people who come to the transfer station.
For their garbage.
We have that somewhere.
Not people.
So,
So, yeah, we have,
Visits, not people,
it's
right?
visits.
No,
Yeah,
that's
right.
50,000 paid by $7.
Visits.
No, people, residents,
Residents.
drive down there.
Right, but
Well, 50,000 trips,
Visits.
50,000 trips.
Right, visits. So
But
we
that's
have
not
50,000 people in
So
town.
like if I
Yeah,
go
if
10
someone comes once
times.
a week,
I
they
get
pay $7.
Right.
One person.
And that's the
times
same,
two
it's
is
the
one
same with
person.
this other. I get that. So I think it's
it's a very
important,
small percentage.
I think it's important that we view this figure as a part of that figure and not as a part of the town as a whole, because most people are too lazy to go anywhere and do anything. So I think that makes it less.
Oh, in terms of taking the percentage of people that
Yeah,
use transfer stations.
yeah, I think that those are also potentially maybe the easiest to convert, because they're already going to the transfer
Right.
station, so
Exactly.
what kind of campaign can we make with those people to get them kind of shifting to doing this? Because I think the people who are getting trash pickup at home are unlikely to suddenly become people who go to the transfer station. And if they're not highly motivated because they care, they're probably not gonna separate their food waste, because it makes no difference for them for their hauling.
That's why curbside has become, a
Right.
very successful pickup business.
However, curbside is very expensive. So like,
But
I
so
think
is
people
picking
will
up
say,
food waste at the municipality level.
no, I agree. I'm just saying in terms of like the psychology of individual people is what I'm trying to tap into, is like, I pay, like $600 a year for weekly trash pickup, and I pay $500 a year for weekly compost pickup.
Right.
Right.
And it would cost, it's
And I'm
gonna
happy-
cost us
right.
the same,
Right.
okay?
So even though your trash is significantly less than your neighbor's, you're
Right.
paying the same amount.
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly.
I looked at it today, it turns out it's $7. You could get rid of all your garbage, the way I read it, in the current
You
level.
can't get rid of all your garbage.
For,
120.
well, I mean, you could cut it up and bring it to, the transfer station. And it's roughly $10, right? And you could make it cheaper, because I don't think, I've got 125, there's two of us living in my house.
Right.
I don't have 125 pounds of garbage, right?
Yeah.
So I sort of looked at it, and then apparently you guys have cheaper service than I do, or maybe it's where I live. But I looked at it, it's like, okay, you could save $500 a year if you just drive down there. But then you get into the thing of like,
Oh my
do I
God,
really want to
yeah,
take
I mean-
stinky garbage in the back of my car down there?
that's
And, like, it gets a little
Then you gotta
like,
buy a pickup truck.
but my point is, here's my point. You should be able, I think, to charge people more. They could still save money versus the alternative. But I don't know, you just want to discount. I mean, at this point, you're discounting to the point where there should be people streaming in there, particularly for just like lame garbage stuff. But then the point is, if you don't have the rust removed, you're still stuck on this 2-week schedule. But my personal opinion is, I think people, for low costs, actually are more happy to pay for it than not, because it seems like it's valuable, as opposed to it's free, psychologically.
Oh, so you're
Yeah.
saying like, instead of being free, like, add value, but like something affordable.
Yeah, like if it costs $4 or whatever, when you flip the guy's switch, it says you unloaded your stuff, it adds up. If everybody pays $4, maybe you start to actually cover some of these expenses. And I think people will be
Yeah, and
okay
if you
with
could do
it.
every other week with your
Sure.
caller.
You still have to manage that too, though, you have to have somebody collect that money and
Well, you put a credit card in there.
Yeah, it would be part of the.
still has to be managed in
Yeah, right.
accounting.
No, you're right, there is a business expense.
See, when you talk about cameras before, cameras are nice, but you ever use cameras?
Yeah.
It's not
Ding,
simple.
ding, ding.
I know.
And they're not cheap.
No, they're not cheap. Well, they're not that expensive.
Well, they're cheap, not as cheap as they were.
There's a lot of time and effort.
You gotta wire them.
Investigations.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, if something happens, someone has to sit down and go through all that film, that's a lot of fun, huh?
But they don't really solve
Yeah,
a
but
lot of
sometimes
problems.
the threat of a camera makes you behave.
Exactly,
No.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we can put a fake camera there, you know?
So, yeah, I understand that, but most people aren't like you. Remember, I met your husband.
Well, I wanna go back to, I think, unless we have anything more to, one thing I think that I would hope, and I'm sure that's the whole idea, if these were available, I think the number of people that are willing to separate food waste would do it. I think these numbers will go up. How much they go up? We have no idea.
Yeah.
We'll know after a year, especially if we get the word out. We've all read so much about people understand the issue with food waste. I think a lot of people really do want to separate it and do the right thing, but how difficult is it to do? I mean, I personally had to take up about a third of the lower part of my refrigerator for these two things that I put my food waste in. Now, it's just law and me. If you have a family and you don't have a big refrigerator, that's a lot of, and I'm not keeping it outside the refrigerator, that's for sure, but anyway.
Get in the garage.
Can I,
Yeah. Well, how's that go in July, though?
As long as you keep the lid.
No problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you should stick your head in the bucket.
Yeah.
But like,
I've only done
as
that
long
a
as
few
you keep
times.
it covered.
Not good.
Yeah.
Well, I am in a condo, too, I have to say that, so I don't
Yeah.
have the necessary, anyway.
and I'm almost, sort of wanna make a motion, we could reword it. But I would also, because I think conceptually this is not a bad idea, something for us to look at, which
Right.
I've been saying over and over.
That's all.
Can we send it back to the professionals? I'm sorry, John, I hate to give you work, but you're the only person that can really do it. And say whether or not this actually makes sense.
Right.
And then we can discuss it further down the road.
Right.
What you're saying, I'm agreeing, you know.
Yeah,
I need somebody like John, because the Parks Department, cameras, all this other, we gotta look at all that.
Well, I think and just to give you more information, when you sent this, you copied a number of people, or maybe.
I just sent it to you.
You sent it to me, there were a lot of people copied on here, I sent it to Jen Carpenter. Jen, I've already gotten feedback from Christine Brown, she wants to get involved with this. Park and Rec got back, so this is something that I think a lot of people in town are gonna have to look at and make decisions about. So I guess what they're looking for us to do is say, do we agree that this should be taken a look, that we should look at this and get more information and possibly get it into the budget this year.
Okay, so we need to put it into language and.
We need to put it,
And
so.
we're gonna find out how to fund it. I mean, if we don't wanna use the alcohol mini funds, which I would personally propose to use, could we,
Wait, what was the price tag on it?
the amount that, I mean, that, this 11,700 or whatever is gonna be done by a grant.
Okay.
So that, the cost of the bins would be paid for by the
Yeah.
grant. What we're talking about is hauling,
Okay. So that's probably,
at $5,000
For what? Year?
for a year. And I made some assumptions on that, that July and August would be a little light because we'd be kicking it off in July. I know those are normally heavier months, but not a lot of people, they're not gonna be using all three bins.
So their pickup is whatever's there is there once a week, and that's it?
Correct.
Yeah, like if only one bin's full, and we have a fill sensor in the bin, if the two bins weren't used, they're
Can I
not
make a
gonna get out.
motion?
But we gotta pay for the full.
Yes, please.
Let me make a real, let me
It's
say
different
the
from one
word,
bin
a
to
motion.
bin.
Okay.
I think, like, to take this proposal, like here, and send it back to the professionals, to have them take a look at it and report back to us on whether or not it's feasible and maybe a plan with this. That's a motion.
How they would do this.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And
If it's feasible and if it makes sense to do.
yeah, I was writing down feasible investigation, yes.
Okay.
And the language about by July
Change
1st.
the words of that.
Well, frankly, the proposal is, this proposal talks about doing this by July 1st and in some way funding it, and that's the
But
investigation.
we don't need that, that's just a
Okay.
proposal not by our
Okay.
commission.
Right.
Let's
So
send it
we're-
back to them and have them come
so
back
we're-
with a proposal, if it makes sense,
Right, okay.
you know, that.
And when you say that, you're talking about the department, the
Because also you
professionals.
talk about grants, I mean, I don't know, grants make me nervous.
Yeah.
Where did these grants come from? Who filed for it?
Oh,
Who's managing it?
yeah,
And what are the, you know, restrictions on it, or, you know, should I say, you know, commitments afterwards? Some grants say you have to continue with the program for years. I mean, we need to know that.
With New York City.
I've talked to the grant person, I could give you all that or I'll give the information to them. And they're welcome to call Connecticut.
What, and you're talking about DEP
It's not
grant?
a DEP grant, this one is Sustainable TT, it's a matching grant.
Oh, I
The one that
see.
we use for.
But it's state, it's not federal, right? It's state?
It's a Sustainable TT, yeah, so it's a Connecticut.
Okay, Connecticut, yeah, because we're gonna get nothing from the feds.
This is.
No, that's gone,
And I've
that's
already
gone,
talked to them.
not Connecticut.
They have tentatively said they would approve this, should we decide to move forward,
Okay.
they would approve this grant, and they're happy to do it, and there are no, constraints at the back end, Mike, so, just so you know, this is something that if we raise the money, they will match it, up to the amount that we raise.
Somebody still has to manage it.
Right, and somebody still has to, you know, there has to be money for, you know, somebody to check on it regularly.
So I'm happy to manage the grant, and sustainable.
Yeah, I mean,
Partners,
legal location.
town and the community.
I think the management from the grant has to come from within the town.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, wouldn't it be Parks and Rec, yes?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
has to be,
yeah.
the town's
So,
part.
isn't Sustainable Fairfield part of the town?
Yes, we're a town organization.
You're a committee.
We are a task force that
The
is.
committee that really doesn't have much authority, to be honest.
Well, no, yeah, the town is
We are
salaried
appointed by-
employees and elected officials. That's
We are-
who has to make this decision.
We are appointed
Yes.
by the town.
Right, I know. that.
Yeah, we are too.
You're committed, we're commissioned.
We're commissioned.
You're committed.
So is the
There's a
commission
difference.
allowed to own the,
No, I think the town has rules for grants. They have a grant writer, they have.
And I'm
rules.
talking to him this
You know.
week.
Yeah,
We have a new grant writer, who's a full-time grant writer, and I was gonna discuss this grant with him, so that he's aware and if he has any constraints. Why don't you guys attend that meeting? I'll send you the information,
so
so
we,
that you're.
as a commission, we're not allowed to own any programs?
No, I'm not really saying that. A grant, there's rules in the town for how they accept grants. They have a committee, they have a grant writer. Right? You have a grant writer in town.
Everything has to go through the town
Yes.
Yeah.
municipal.
They have to accept the grant.
Yeah.
It has to be approved by the RTM to accept the grant, it goes through all the
Board
boards.
of Finance,
To accept
Board of
the grant.
Selectmen, yeah.
And then it has to be put into its own separate accounts,
Yes, we need
to
to
track
get
the
going.
grants, what
That's what
comes
I'm
in.
saying,
Yeah.
because it
What
takes a long
goes
time to get
out.
this process.
It's
Smart.
not a flip of
Yeah.
the switch.
Yeah, so I,
I wanna make,
Well aware of what, and
So I have a motion on
I've
it.
done a grant before.
I wanna make sure, I wanna make sure that we get the right wording for the motion, just for the record. What,
Feasibility
Feasibility studies.
study.
okay, so the motion is to ask the department and the town to do a feasibility study?
Yeah. Because they said.
On this specific-
John has that earmarked already for other projects. I mean, so it's, you can't just say we're gonna use NIP money. We gotta know that
Yeah.
NIP money's available, you know.
The feasibility study to incorporate the proposal, is this a recommendation or a proposal from Sustainable Fairfield, within this budget, within the upcoming budget year?
we have to.
Oh, I'm not putting no.
Well,
no,
I
I'm not
mean-
putting no restraints on
Because
John.
Well,
that
okay.
goes to that goes to the board of selectmen in
Yeah.
the first of March, I think.
Yeah, I guess, you know, and you've gotta go.
Well, okay, but
It's gotta be passed by the RTM before it can even, you know, you've got a lot.
If it's a grant, I don't know if it has to be in the budget per se, as long as it's not a lot of money, right? If you accept the grant, and it's, you might be able to find, if it costs more, you might be able to find it within your budget already. So I don't think that has to go before I could be wrong, am I wrong, John, on that?
I put it very conservative, but I'm very.
Okay,
strict on
well,
it.
then that's.
My numbers are pretty good numbers then. I don't put a lot of fluff.
No, I wouldn't think so either.
So the motion is
The only thing
to,
that changes is if something changes because of race or something.
well, so the motion, let me make sure this is correct. The motion is to ask the department and the town to consider the proposal in the January 9th Sustainable Fairfield, recommendation for food waste containers in the northern part of Fairfield. Is that clear?
Give their recommendations back to us.
And, well, yes, and actually have it back, I would like to have it back just by the February meeting, or we'll never get this. I can tell you
I
that,
don't think this is as simple as we wanna make it seem. I mean, am I wrong, John?
well, we're talking about the three,
Conservation Department, like you said, it involves.
Parks Department has to approve.
Parks and Rec, yeah.
Yeah, this is the town we're
What
talking
kind
about,
of,
we're talking about town government.
So
I'm sorry, John.
what kind of,
We're the most
appetite
likely
did the
I
park?
know.
Not the Ferraro.
Was it,
Anthony said that we would have to go and get approval by the Parks and Rec Commission.
the commission, yeah, right.
So we would have to, that would be, I guess, something you're asking John and Lisa to do, is to go in front of the commission and see if they would approve it.
is that the normal process?
I don't know, that's what.
Well, the one thing,
Well, no, that's not what I said.
No,
I
no.
said John should look into it and talk to these other departments to find out if it's, whether or not it's feasible, and then go forward with the process and get approvals. If they think it is, bring it back to us,
yeah,
and we should decide whether or not we wanna go forward and then go to the other commissions. You know,
okay,
But how would they decide if it's feasible if they don't talk to Anthony?
they are gonna talk to you.
Yeah.
They're gonna do an investigation, or whatever you
Oh,
wanna
okay.
call it, and find out if, whether or not this program makes sense.
And there could be another site that they would want to identify in North
Right.
Fairfield too, that would be a better site.
That's true.
That's a very good point.
Yeah,
I honestly think, with all the dog walkers up there and the kids and the,
Oh, it's gonna be dogs.
oh my God. I was like,
dogs, I forgot about the dogs.
I don't know how much
I
smoke
might have
comes out of there.
people throwing dogs.
But that is a dog walker park.
Oh, my God.
There's no kids there, there's dogs.
You have to have the code to get it.
Oh, that's true, you have to
So
have a
it's
code.
not,
No,
you
no,
know,
they-
anything in there. Your codes, I know, I mean,
No, it's your phone.
possibly, but like, I feel like it's a lot of work with your your hands, your baggie of poop in your hand to be like.
I mean, and there's gonna be a lot of people too, just dumping it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another.
yeah, I
So,
think you
okay,
got it.
do you have secondary options if not?
The
that,
Congress
like-
Street Fire Station was one that is,
Well, why don't we leave that up, why don't we
Yeah,
leave it where it is? Is
Let-
there a second on the motion, or?
I second.
Okay,
Let's get this going.
okay, all in favor?
Alright? Sorry, John.
And just looking at, along these lines, looking at the next item in the old business, I've already been contacted by Christine Brown, who's gonna take charge of going down and seeing the Stanford facility sometime in February. And I know the first selectman wants to see it, and I'm supposed to meet with her pretty soon now, so that is something that,
Their waste, their bins, they're going to the Stanford?
no, this is separate now. This is just see that digestion facility as an option for the longer term.
I know, I'm asking you a question.
Yeah.
You said that they put all these bins out there.
they haven't put them out
Yeah,
yet.
put out.
They actually have put an order in and they put a grant in and, for $2 million to get more of their digesters, the eco-rich digesters, but the digesters at different places and.
Oh, digesters.
Digesters
Okay.
plus 52 of these bins.
Well, but not these, but these are they're gonna use
They're
the
gonna
big
use the
belly
big belly.
bins, the different type of
They're gonna
bin.
use the
But,
other one.
by the way, I, as an engineer, I think this kind of bin makes more
I think
sense
it's just smarter
for us,
to do
so. Oh, and I should also say, I wanna make, my son lives in West Hartford, I'm gonna run up there sometime and see theirs and also Manchester's. I know
Yeah,
Manchester.
Manchester has some-
I'll have to, you and I can talk about that.
Okay.
And I'll pass that information and photos and whatever on to you too, because I'm curious about what these things really look like.
Stanford's making a big play to manage food waste.
Yeah.
They're spending $2 million on it.
Can I ask,
The big thing is, as this would come out, Stanford, the garbage is in their tax base, and
Right.
they themselves pick up the garbage in-house.
Right.
That's outside contract.
Yes, that's,
There's a lot of different controls and incentives for them to
Right.
take that,
Well, I-
take that extra.
And I would
seems like
just
it's
put
a
on
lot
this
easier
table.
to have municipal.
I don't know.
It seems like it's a lot easier to have municipal.
Yeah, well, we can add,
Well-
we could 2.5% on your mill rate just to cover garbage.
Yeah.
They're paying
When you start to get
$12
involved with
million
workers' comp
now.
issues and everything else, with equipment, trucks,
And you're paying for somebody else's garbage, aren't you?
and tip, that's a whole other bit.
I mean, that's.
I had it in Bridgeport, and I'm glad that I didn't have it here.
Yeah.
you know, yeah, and we've talked about this before, if you're starting from scratch, okay, you could make that consideration, but understand the town of Stanford, the town of Bridgeport, the city of Stanford, they have to buy all the trucks, they have the full-time employees, they've got pensions, blah, 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 blah.
Workers' comp.
Yeah,
People to
everything.
take
So
care of-
it's not something, you're not gonna, that's not something that's gonna change real soon.
Back up people when you're on vacation to cover for them.
It's a wonderful place, but it's
It is
not
not a
a
good-
place.
It's like when the town went from managing the yard waste facility.
Yeah.
They saved a ton of money because all of a sudden, you know, when Paul Salute first took it over for the town of Fairfield, the town was paying $250,000 a year, but they saved $1 million on not paying the equipment, the, you know, health benefits and, you know, the salaries of everybody else. So, you know, for that $750,000 difference was a big deal. That's why they went private.
The one thing that as things progress and change, the one thing that we have, 9 haulers right now, and they're all licensed by the town, and Lisa checks them out every year. I mean, if they decided to have them do different things, then and they can decide to stay as haulers or not. But, yeah, to change the basic situation, it's, yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
not gonna
I
happen.
do have an actual question, sorry, that just came up in the, conversation, but, would you be open to, and I know this is gonna sound very ungreen, but like, passing out information to people as they come into the transfer
I
station?
do all the time.
About the benefits, there's like a flyer or something you give about the benefits of separating your food waste and why it's important to do.
Well, I give it, yeah, I have the flyer that, you know,
You give it out, I haven't
I'll
given
give it out all the time.
You give it to people when they come?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure, I didn't know
And
that.
it's the glass and the thing, I mean, you know, the glass is really, you know, and then that frustrates me, the glass. I mean, I have people who come down every week and we tell them and everything else, and we point right at it, and they know it's there, and they still go down the single stream and dump it all. And I hear that cling, cling, cling of the bottle.
yeah, that's
Frustrating.
That's a really tough
You
one.
know?
That is a really tough one. Okay,
So let's see, I think, well, is there anything else from anyone?
Yep, well,
Well, oh yeah, okay, if we're done for now with that, under new business, Misty wanted to talk about mattress recycling?
well, I had a question for you. They're having trouble finding a drop-off site for the mattresses. And they'd like to do something at the end of April, beginning of May. And, that space down there by the recycle, I mean, would accommodate, they have a truck, they drive it in, they maintain the whole thing themselves that day for pickup.
You mean as opposed to doing it at Veterans Park?
Yeah, the Veterans Park is having all sorts of.
It has lots of tournaments.
Baseball and soccer.
So it would be one Saturday,
Yeah, one Saturday.
during our hours.
And they do the whole thing. So anything that, you know, they don't take, you know, the mattress would have to go, you
Well,
know, get paid, they'd have to go back and pay for it and dump it in the thing. But they take, it's amazing how much they take, right? They're pretty flexible in what they take. And then they're completely responsible for it. And then they're gone. And it would be a benefit, and I think it would be great to see the transfer station.
Oh, might drive more people to the transfer station.
Yeah.
I mean, the mattress recycling is an interesting thing. You know, we'll have people all the time, and I'll tell them, but sign up, and they'll still come in with it. Oh, you could have waited till Saturday, it would have been free, instead of paying the $7, $14, or $21, depending on the size of mattress. And they're like, I don't wanna wait, I just wanna get rid of it now.
Well, it was
but,
very
you know,
successful.
it was very successful.
Run it,
And
and I
it's not
think
gonna bring
we have to
anybody
do it.
new in, but I mean, I'll let John think about it, I have no problem with it, but let John
What do
think
you
about
think
it.
about that?
Yeah, 'cause it was.
You're just looking for a
So
spot.
one day,
Right, that one day.
one day, I have no problem.
And I think it's a good place for us to
What-
do that.
And what about every day?
No, because who's gonna handle it? Do they come in for an event, they come in fully staffed?
Right.
Okay, I don't have a staff that can handle it and stack mattresses. Plus, anybody handling it, you've got to go through the blood pathogen training as well as bed bug training, which is a big deal.
Okay.
It's not in the contract for Enviro. If, let's say, people are just throwing, I mean, we tell people, take their electronics and bring it for the small electronics and boxes. They throw it right outside. So let's say people don't want to bring their mattress in and stack it, and they want to leave it outside and it gets wet and muddy. Who's got to handle it, and we didn't get money for it? There's a lot involved with mattresses. Trumbull stopped doing it. Most of the municipalities stopped doing it.
I had it up in Southbury. I had to have a dedicated person to run it, basically. And it was a problem in fight saying, with the residents saying, oh, no, it's not that tarnished, that's recyclable, and, you know, I shouldn't have to pay for it, and it's
I think communication comes in here.
That's why there's a spot there in Bridgeport. If you're driving down to the transfer station, it's just as easy to drive over to
It's the same
Bridgeport.
distance for most people in Fairfield.
And just take it to where it eventually goes and gets processed.
Oh, so this gets, if it was dropped off
You can
at the
take,
transfer station, then it ends up having to be hauled somewhere else,
Right.
obviously, yeah.
oh, yeah.
We're not gonna take it apart.
No,
It's just
the
the
truck
handling
comes
of
in.
it.
We don't have anything to do with it. The truck comes in.
Right,
Right,
for
you're
this,
talking
right,
about
they're
the-
all trained,
Right,
volunteer
okay,
professionals
okay.
to pick it up.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we start there.
So as long as it,
What date were you looking for is the
Um,
key, because I know we've done stuff over at the fire training thing, and if it doesn't conflict right there.
And there is more room there.
Okay, well, I mean, that is a
Okay.
good spot because it's so easy to get in and out.
Right, and
Okay,
then you're
so-
not getting involved with all the other stuff.
Yeah, if you
Right,
get it.
because we're so busy on Saturdays.
Well, what about a contact person? You have,
Who's everyone's, I don't know, you go through the chief's done,
okay, we'll
find out.
check
But
it out, then we'll get back
the
to you.
idea is come up with a, I don't know the secretary who
Yeah.
schedules everything down there, but if they're not having something on a Saturday, you can do it there. I mean, I've
Yeah.
done,
The rain barrel,
the rain barrels over there.
which has been very successful,
Well,
since like 2 years.
Yeah, and then I've done it,
I love the rain barrels.
I've done the rain barrels also on WPCI.
I love the rain barrels.
I hate them. I love them. I hate them.
Yeah, my husband was,
Okay,
I got that, my husband was.
Okay, we'll add it.
Well,
Really?
Let me know what date you want to.
You have to empty it.
And I'll,
Yeah, that was a battle, like,
How long was I do last week?
I win most of my sustainability battles, but I couldn't.
Last week.
I water all my plants with it.
Just give me this, give me 2 dates.
okay, so you'll provide a date to John and,
Provide me 2 dates
Yeah.
that we
Okay.
have, and I'll ask.
okay.
One last question on mattresses. Is it not the case that when you buy a mattress and the mattress company brings you the mattress, they take your mattress away?
I wouldn't buy a mattress any other way.
There's a lot of people that are moving and they're not gonna buy another mattress, and there's a lot of mattresses. back
Or
there.
they buy it online these
Yeah.
days. They don't take it away if you buy it online.
Ah, okay,
But
right.
they-
There are a lot of
they're moving,
that
yeah.
on
Mattress
boxes in
in a
there.
box, that one blows my mind still.
No.
Box.
It only can go in the box that one time.
Right. Where do the mattresses go that the mattress company takes away? Do we know or care?
They-
Oh,
they-
yeah.
they
It's
go
part of that
over Bridgeport, I ran a stand out there, we're near
Park City Green.
Park City Green.
Green. They take it apart, the wood gets, recyclable wood, the metal springs get pulled out and gets sold for scrap metal.
Yeah,
The
it's
stuffing
great.
gets sold.
85% gets
Yeah.
recycled.
Okay, great, thank you
Great,
so much.
okay.
Okay, we're ready to move on.
Well, I
Providing
think,
it's, soil,
Right,
wet,
right.
well, is there any other new business?
Yeah, the only thing I want to bring up is the other
Oh.
recommendation, which I don't think I'm asking for any approval today at all, but I'm really
Good.
asking. I think what I am asking for is this commission and this department to think about what would be the next steps on doing a permanent composting facility in the town of Fairfield. I mean, I've obviously put a recommendation on the table as a way to do it. We looked at 3 different things, aerobic static pile, the ones that Eco-Rich that Stanford uses, and then this one. And I'd personally rather get compost out of it than a soil amendment, but, and there are other ways to do it. So what would it look like if we were to do that? And would that
Well-
substantially save us money?
Can I make a suggestion? Because that's a big conversation, and I think if you had a subcommittee, I hate to use that word, but you can get a lot of work done in a subcommittee to have those discussions with, you know, the people that facilitate something like that, to come and make some presentations to.
Well,
I think it's a great idea.
yeah, we've talked about this before, and I think it's an ongoing, I mean, personally, I think we need a lot more information about the various technologies, but and eventually, though, it's gonna have to be at a very high, the town at a very high level has got to look at this. This is gonna be a very grants or no grants, it's an expensive operation, and it's gotta make sense. And I've been, again, we're planning this visit to see Stanford. I mean, I think the technology, the in-vessel technology that they have down at Rutgers and other places.
Down in Rutgers.
Yeah, I don't know that, again, Rutgers is a confined, it's a university, so it's a lot different.
They have their
more
cafeteria.
students than there are people in this town.
They have their
Yeah.
cafeteria.
Yeah, well.
Which I know because.
They do their cafeteria.
I mean, it's an absolute.
And they have manure and stuff too,
They
right?
don't use a lot of, it mostly is their cafeteria food. They may put some manure in, but it's mostly their cafeteria.
And they set that all up.
I mean, I think
mean,
it's,
it could be absolutely brilliant, but it's an RFP, it's an outside
Yeah.
company that's gonna run it.
Yeah.
Well-
Okay, and then there's gonna be tip fees involved,
Mhm.
so it is gonna be a cost to the people using it.
That's
Okay, that's,
fine.
and which is fine, because,
Yeah.
you know, to be sustainable does cost money.
Sure, well, I
It
thought
costs
that,
work, and it
I think
costs
people
money.
would be willing.
and these bins that we filling up with stuff, that they would come down there. I mean, we're talking about a whole
Yeah.
operation here.
But yeah, if somebody's bringing it down there, you've gotta
Still have
pay.
some hauling
then charge
costs for all of the
Westport
other.
Hauling charges are
Accounts for
relative.
using
Maybe
it.
we can have like a budget impact model.
well, I think it's something that,
Very good.
I think
I
it's,
mean, if the schools
budget alone
if the schools
would pay
are
for
paying
this.
$60,000 a year just for composting.
So why aren't they doing it at a school?
They should, the school should actually be, I mean, the question is, you know, whose job is it within the town to look at these things? It's really probably your department to look at this, you know, because the school is just one part of our town. It would
They're
save,
the major generator now, so.
We're all major generators.
I know, but.
Right now,
They're
right.
the major generator.
But see, remember, I spent years teaching food waste reduction. We don't have to be such major generators.
We try to be
Yeah.
minor generators. We try, I mean, we have the share
No.
table and we do
But,
food raising.
oh, I
and all kinds of
agree,
things.
Which I think is wonderful.
Yeah.
I agree, it's great that they're doing that now.
But I guess I'm saying the appetite is there to do something, because
Yeah.
let me look at the schools, look at our young people, they've got it down. So
yeah.
now that the appetite is there, we can do a budget impact model, see what are the long-term costs, and really like, maybe there's more costs up front, but like 5 years, 10 years down the line, maybe we'll be saving money.
Yeah, but I'd like to know what you're actually saving with garbage.
Oh, I'm sure it's on, I can just from my own family, I can.
No, within the school system.
Oh, we are, I mean,
You know,
they're.
you
they're-
obviously have reduced the
Yeah.
garbage, because that was a big part of it. And see, we used to, you know, the transfer station used to take the school's garbage.
So
We
when-
don't take it
Didn't,
anymore.
So when
didn't we
first
see
started-
pictures of the
So I can tell you from Mill, I
custodian
can,
with the pre and post?
I can
Oh,
tell you
yeah.
Mill Hill's numbers, because I have that memorized,
Yeah.
because we ended up winning, the Green Ribbon Award. So there was an 80% reduction in landfill waste, because we were,
But we don't landfill.
well, whatever,
MSW.
wheelabrator waste.
Incineration.
In my report, I wrote landfill waste, but you're right. So it was because of food rescue, the milk carton recycling, and the food waste. So taking all of that out, we saw 80% reduction in what.
What are the actual numbers?
Oh, I
So
don't
they're,
know.
I think they're
Still
putting,
paying though, too.
I think they're putting together a
And maybe
report
more.
now on
Well, this is the first year when we did that. I don't know
how,
this year.
yeah.
The different experience of our school, it's much more expensive
Oh, it's definitely
It's
more,
more
it's
expensive
definitely more
for us
expensive.
to separate the
You
food.
can't sell it
With
as
other
a
products.
cost reduction.
Right, and I think that like that's the bottom line to like kind of this conversation, is that sometimes doing the right thing is not
Is-
the cheapest thing.
But that's what we
You
need
have
to,
to,
right,
you
but
have to
that's,
wrap
I'm
our
waiting
brains around
to your
that.
budget, board of ed budget, somebody's gonna find out that they're paying $60-something thousand
Yeah,
and taking away another program.
yeah. But they, I mean,
Wait
they
and see if
spend
the
like
parents-
$300,000 on tree trimming, so
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
there's crazy stuff that's much.
I will say one thing, so I go through the finance committee and so, you know,
Yeah.
my budgets and stuff. And I go and tell the finance members to say, I'm paying $103 for garbage in the train. And, in the pile program, I'm paying $300, $250, or something like that, to do the food scrap. And they're gonna look at me, and they're both in a study, because when it happened is, recycling rates are up at $90, something like that, and we were paying more to recycle than to actually get rid of garbage.
But isn't
And
that?
I had one of the finance directors say, why are we doing that? Why aren't we turning around and just throwing it in garbage? And the answer is, because it's the law. That's why that got done. That's why we have recycling. It's the law. We have to do it. Does it make financial sense?
No.
Not at all.
Not every good
at
decision
all.
necessarily does.
But that's the law, and that's what we do. We follow the law. Right now, and food waste is still categorized as MSW. So I have to sell this as, yes, it's a good thing to do. It's a field and really, right now, because of, when you look at the numbers, but it's not the law.
John, isn't it true that right now recycling trades $25 per ton lower than straight?
It's right this week, it's,
Yeah, this week.
this quarter, yes, it's 68 versus 85.
Right.
Oh,
So,
68 and change versus 85 and change.
so
Although,
well,
but when I add in the.
moving it, yeah, when you,
Moving it.
hauling it ended up close to even. But I would still go back to the same point, which
It's actually more expensive,
it's slightly more going up there, yeah.
so.
My feeling is, and I know people don't enjoy hearing this, but my point is, if we, John and I actually talked about it briefly, and so did Tim and I, but holidays were the holidays. To the extent you can clean up our single line stuff, you can actually reduce costs. The problem is only like 20% of your recycling is actually there. So even though you can lower the cost, it's not huge. But what I like is, in the world of what is currently the recyclable, world, you can extract value for that product. You don't have to say, the law is the law, but at the same time, you can actually extract money from that process. And so the question with the food thing, which I gotta ask a lot more questions about, I just sit there and look at, like, it looks like a volume issue to me. Like, you're billing guys to take away stuff that isn't even there. And you're not getting paid anything for the net product, even though it has value as compost.
Yeah.
So if you can get volume up and find an outlet source, you have a shot. But I also think one thing you guys said is Food Rescue. Food Rescue, for those who don't know, is a company that actually goes in and I deliver for them, so I know the company pretty well.
Amazing.
And you just grab food, and just me on my little rounds, it's crazy. I've delivered like 14
It's like so
tons.
successful.
It's 14 tons of food just for me to deliver.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's all set up, so there are really,
I've got a friend.
my joy in life is finding something that lowers costs and does a service. And so I don't think, as much as I say, yeah, it's nice, we've got to do it, it's the right thing, eventually you run out of resources and you're taking them away, as Mike said, from other programs, and then you end up losing. I don't think you lose, you might not get the resources you want. So I kind of feel like figuring out how to make them cheaper to start with is a better way to sell a committee, or the RTM, or the Board of Finance.
Okay, so just in moving forward, what about, getting that committee?
I think at this point, well, we,
This committee would get something accomplished, because you can dig deep.
I think at this point, yeah, let's have that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, good.
And, we've got a lot of information. There's gonna be more, I hope to be, but before the next meeting, I hope to have gone down to Stanford, and reported back on that, where they are at this point, and, I'll get that on the agenda for the next meeting. Unless you're suggesting we do a subcommittee right now.
Yeah, that is what she was suggesting, is that you at least set it up.
I think there's enough interest and,
Well, I'll entertain a motion.
okay, I think we should have a subcommittee to look at the possibilities of expanding our food waste disposal options, and leave it open and broad like that.
Okay.
I second it.
And I think
All right.
Denali, Denali should be a part of it. We should be talking to
And
other towns, and, I think that's one thing we never talk about, is the fact that we're all trying to do this town by town by town, and instead of saying, we need a regional solution for this.
But now you're talking about the state, but I'll let you guys.
Well, I'm not talking about a big, I'm just saying we have all these little towns around us struggling to deal with this issue. We need to.
So the motion is to establish a subcommittee to expand, the understanding of food waste, expand options for food waste. And,
Development,
okay,
evaluation,
okay,
and implementation.
Yeah.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Who wants to be in the committee? Subcommittee?
How many
just
people,
got a new job.
how many people are allowed to be in it?
No more than 3, because otherwise it's a quorum.
Okay, I love food waste.
Okay,
I would be on it too, because
okay.
that's one thing I wanna,
Ellie, Misty, and Andy? Okay. All in favor of Ellie, Misty, and Andy being on the subcommittee? Here we go. Excellent, thank you.
That's what we
Yeah.
need.
I know.
not this week, but next week.
Yeah, that's nothing. This is the 1 month a year I'm not working 7 days a week, 13 hours a day.
I have a
Well,
question.
yes.
How many meetings are you guys having? Are you going up to your recommended 10 that the charter recommends? Because I know you've
Well,
7 meetings a year.
that is something, there's only 9, we don't meet,
Okay.
at this point,
I think they all do the same thing with like December, August, for some reason or something.
okay, well, yeah, what, no.
She said meeting's on adjourned.
Well, all in favor of adjournment, there you go. No, I didn't
Maybe promote a parliamentarian.
We can adjourn, and then I will answer your question. Okay.
Are we officially adjourned?
I think we're officially adjourned, yes.
Turning off.